Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. Today is the Pascack Valley Regional High School District Board of Ed meeting for Monday, February 28th. During this meeting, there will be two opportunities for citizens to ask questions and make comments. During the first opportunity, which is the earlier one on the agenda, the comments need to be addressed to items that are on the agenda. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, state their name and address. And, okay, we don't need all that. Comments should be limited to issues. If personal remarks or discourteous statements are made, we may terminate the conversations. There'll be a second reading or open to the public, which could be on any topic at all, which is later in the meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Blondo.
Here.
Mrs. Varghese.
Here.
Dr. Blundy. Mr. Luisi. Here. Mrs. Martin. Ms. Molinelli. Mr. Stankus.
Here.
Ms. Steffens.
Here.
Mr. Weaver.
Here.
Okay. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go a little out of sequence, not much. We're going to start tonight with the student reports, and we're going to ask Hillary from Pascack Hills to give your update. Up, maybe?
Yep.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Hillary Siegel, and I will be presenting the Pascack Hills High School student report for the month of February. To begin with classroom items, to start, the Environmental Club is hosting a new event, which is their battery collection. There are special locations throughout Pascack Hills where students and faculty can recycle any old batteries or bring in new batteries as well. The club is focusing on helping the Hills community reduce its ecological footprint. Additionally, the Tri-M Music Honor Society induction ceremony and concert was on Wednesday, February 16th here at Hills. A group of 17 student musicians shared their talents by performing in several different vocal and instrumental solos and duets in different genres and styles, everything from classical to contemporary. It was nice to see students again performing after a long break from ceremonies and shows. For co-curricular items, the Pascack Hills chapter of the National Honor Society hosted a fundraiser with the American Heart Association. Members of NHS were encouraged to donate and raise money for Finn's mission, and posters raising awareness for heart disease have been hung throughout the school. Additionally, the Teens Against Cancer Club held a fundraiser in early February in which they sold homemade toffee celebrating both Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl. The proceeds benefited the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as well as the annual Relay for Life that members will participate in later this spring. For athletic items, the winter track and field team had their county's appearance earlier this month, and the boys team came home victorious with the most points ever scored. The boys basketball had their county game on February 5th away, and they came back with the win against Tenafly. They had been doing extremely well, and tonight they have a game versus Lakeland as part of the NJSIAA tournament. A big congratulations to Hill senior Deja Darvis, who received the National Girls and Women in Sports Award for her participation in varsity volleyball. Additionally, congratulations to Alejandro Camarena, who became the wrestling district champion at 215 pounds this past weekend, and this week was voted North Jersey Wrestler of the Week. For academic awards, congratulations to this year's valedictorian Jolie Lefkowitz and salutatorian Lena Kim. They have both worked so hard in and outside of the classroom and should be tremendously proud of their accomplishments. For a fun fact, the upcoming talent night, which it was online last year, it will finally be back in person for the first time since 2019, this April. For a joke of the day, what do lawyers wear to work?
What is it?
What do lawyers wear to work?
That got Miss Steffens' attention.
No, I know, that's what I was like, what?
lawsuits. Thus concludes my report to the
That was good.
Evan, you ready to?
Oh, yeah. Good evening, everyone. This is the Pascack Valley month of February student report. For classroom items, the first item, on February 25th, the Pascack Valley Choir hosted an a cappella festival where they welcomed an all-male a cappella group from Tufts University. The festival included all PV choirs under the direction of Mrs. Safari, as well as the a cappella group from Pascack Hills led by Mrs. Elgin. The festival concluded with the concert that was open to the faculty and students. This festival and workshop would not be possible without the generous PFL grant, which covered all costs associated with this event. Our district musical community is extremely grateful. For the first co-curricular item, in January, the PV Beekeeping Club learned how honey is made. Students were amazed at how various honey can be from color to texture to flavor. In February, the club learned how to make handmade beeswax candles as well as chopsticks. Right now, the hives are inactive, staying warm using their body heat and heating honey stored from the summer. In March, the queen will begin laying eggs and activity will increase going into spring. For the second item, congratulations to PV senior Lauren Kolfis for winning third place in the comedic monologue category of the statewide drama competition, the NJ Governor's Awards in acting. She performed a monologue as her character Madison from PV's theater's fall play, Night Night Roger Roger. For the first athletic item, congratulations to the Pascack Valley Boys Bowling Team for winning the NJSIAA North 1A Group 3 sectional title. This is a tremendous accomplishment for this team. Congratulations to the entire team and coaches on being state champions. For the second item, congratulations to the Pascack Valley Regional Dance Team for once again being national champions. This year, the dance team was national champions in the varsity small palm division. The team was also second place nationally in varsity large team performance. Congratulations to all of the dancers and coaches on the national title and being champs for another year. For the third item, congratulations to Selena Bucinich for being named to the NJ.com Top 100 Freshmen in New Jersey's girls basketball. This is a remarkable accomplishment for Selena and the entire PV girls basketball team and coaches. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition and good luck in states. For the fourth item, congratulations to the Pascack Valley Regional Hockey Team on winning the Big North Silver Cup Championship. The team comprised of players from Pascack Valley, Pascack Hills, and Park Ridge. It was a complete team effort as they made their way through the conference tournament. They beat Lakeland High School 3-2 in the finals to win the title. Congratulations on being Big North Silver Cup champs. For a fun fact, the Executive Council, along with all class councils, are planning the class cause weeks for the spring. Each grade will have a week to hold events and fundraisers in order to raise awareness and money for each class cause. Be sure to get involved and help support these wonderful causes. And for the joke of the day, what did the leprechaun tell his neighbor on March 17th? Irish, you a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks, guys. Before I turn it over to Dan, I want to add a little bit on the hockey situation. I went to 3 of the 4. They had 2 Silver Cup games, and it was wild. It was great to see the team. They also won their first states game against Fairlawn last week, and then lost in the second round. And, you know, anybody that's followed Pascack Regional Hockey, it's had a couple struggling seasons for the last few years. And to come back, they were 14-5-1 and hadn't lost in a full calendar month. And it was a really, really impressive performance. A lot of people traveling to Wayne for the games and then even to Howell, because, you know, these games aren't all right here, a nice Bergen County and Passaic County. So thank you for everybody that came out, and it was just a great effort by the guys. And I think there's a girl on the team too. I learned today I shouldn't say guys anymore. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Dr. Fishbein for his report.
All right, one is a business item. You may recall from my briefing that the governor postponed his budget address to March 8th, which impacts our development of our 2022-2023 budget. So what we'd like to do is move the March 14th Board of Ed meeting to the 21st, okay? And that will allow us to approve our preliminary budget, which gets handed into the county superintendent at that time for his approval. If we do that, we would meet in the library because that's the week before the play here, so they're going to need this room. And then, in consultation with Yas, I don't think we'll need the meeting the week later on the 28th of March.
So get a night back. Yeah. Everybody good? Or if you have an
Does that
issue with
work?
that, let us know, so we can make sure we take, whatever arrangement, whatever arrangements we need.
All right. The other two items, as you may have heard in the newspaper, we're going to have a change in our mask mandate starting next Monday. So masks will be optional except under certain conditions. If you follow the what they call the Cali map in New Jersey, it designates the infection rate in the area. Right now, our area, Bergen County, is in green, so it goes green, yellow, orange, red, and we would only have a return to mask wearing if our area is in orange or red. With that, you may have heard over the weekend that the CDC released information that we would no longer be required to wear masks on school buses or athletic buses. Wearing mask is optional, so if you still want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask, and that's not a problem at all, but it's just not going to be a requirement. Again, we would only require masks on school transportation if the Cali map went to orange or red. And contact tracing will be done if necessary and really at the discretion of the school nurses and school physician in conjunction with the local health department. This week we have a committee meeting of the Restart Committee. We've made the changes on our district reopening plan, and once we meet with the committee, we'll post those on the website. Any questions on that?
Yeah, just a clarification, so next week? this
Next
is?
Monday.
Next Monday,
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
The other item I need to discuss is the student safety data system. So each year, twice a year, we're required to report out of incidents of discipline in the district. So this is for the first half of this year. So at Pascack Hills, we had 6 total incidents, 0 violence, 0 vandalism, 2 substance abuse, 0 weapons, and 4 confirmed HIB cases, and 4 alleged HIB cases. At Pascack Valley, we had a total of 3 incidents, 0 violence, 0 vandalism, 2 substance abuse violations, no weapon issues, 1 HIB confirmation, and 2 alleged HIB. These are very, very small numbers for our schools, and that really is testament to the great behavior of our students.
Great.
Any questions on those? That's all I have.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, so we have one agenda item under routine matters, and it's the minutes. Resolved that the Pascack Valley Regional High School District Board of Education, at the recommendation of the interim superintendent, approve the following Pascack Valley Regional High School District Board of Education minutes. February 7th, both regular and executive meeting. February 12th, special meeting and executive meeting. February 14th, special meeting and executive meeting. Roll call, please.
We need a
Oh, motion, you're right,
So
sorry.
moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, now roll call, please.
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Abstain executive session, February 12th, yes to everything else. I left that one early.
Mr. Blendo?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so the next part's the fun part we get to do once in a while, and we have a lot of student recognitions. I'm sorry. Okay, so our esteemed Vice President, Ms. Varghese, is going to hand the awards out. I'm going to do, for those that I'm going to call out, I'm going to do my best on the names, but where we have full teams, we're going to ask the coaches to come up and maybe read the names. So the first one we have is from Pascack Hills, Bergen County Band, and that's for Amy Sheehan. Is Amy here? And from Pascack Valley for All-State Band, Elizabeth Barlow. What I do know about these placements is it's such a highly competitive opportunity to make these bands, these state and county bands. So it's a great accomplishment, and we're very proud. Thank you. We have some all-county team awards. Looks like is it all PV? I don't know. Anyway, I have that, I think. So the gymnastics team, from the gymnastics team, I don't think she's here, but Jolie Beloff. And from the girls soccer team, also, I don't believe she was able to make it, Amanda Poliniak. From the boys soccer team, Michael Kamenecki. From the football team, Dylan Hutchinson.
Thank you. Great, thanks. Great, thank you.
Also from the football team, Nick Messina. And then from also the football team, Stephen Demboski.
I'm going to take some credit for him. I coached him when he was in kindergarten.
There you go.
He's a little bigger now.
Do we have any of the coaches from the North 1 Group 3 Boys Soccer Champions here tonight? Coach, do you have the list, or we'll hand them to you? Why don't-
Not only we're going to honor you, but you get to read all the names.
Sure, no problem. We need him to do it on mic so they can pick it up on the live stream.
Or I can just read them if it's...
Pick it up there.
Pick it up there, yeah.
Pick 'em up.
You got it.
And is it true, Coach, was this the first state championship for our boys soccer program? Is that
It was,
correct?
yes.
That's fantastic.
First up, we have Michael Caminici.
Maybe we'll just get one big picture.
Cammy, you're going to stay here, okay? Luke Stefan. Nicholas Bonanos. Dylan Crisculo. Luka Hanovic. Ben Lozier. Adrian Pillay. Julian Pillay. Robert Wasserman. Where's Stephen? Ian Hagan. Is that it? Stephen. Oh, Stephen Gifford. Luca Ficella. And Max, I just want to make sure you're the last one so you don't have to call. Max Van Geisen.
Okay, are you coach, any of your coaches here?
Assistant coach Ron Vallone. And assistant coach Brenna Walsh is with us tonight too.
Anything you'd like to say about the team? Or,
Sure.
sorry to put you on.
No, it's not a problem. Like Mr. Blundo mentioned, this was our first state title in school history, and it really is a credit to the boys. The work that they put in throughout the summer, throughout the season, was really something special. This team had a little bit of a slow start and then really kind of picked it up, winning something like 13 games straight, making it just squeaking into the state tournament, winning on the road in double overtime, winning at home, winning on the road in double overtime, and then winning on the road in double overtime. I've said it about this group, that it's a great group of boys, but they're even better young men for the Valley. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And we didn't get a chance to actually give a round of applause to their leader, Coach Luciano Cofrancesco.
One more. Good, thank you.
Great job, guys.
Thanks again.
Okay. Next up, are any of the coaches from the bowling team with us this evening?
Thank you and welcome. This year's bowling team, like Cove soccer team, was unbelievable in the matches that they won and their stick-to-itiveness and working on their spares. After all, it is a spare game, but nobody wants to know that. Right now, I would like to call up Cody Lake, who's first team All-League and just heard he was third team All-County. Joseph Quinn. First year, honorable mention All-League. Great job, Joe. Diego Mercado. Diego had the unique distinction of bowling in the state finals. He was the third highest game with a 279? 266. Did a great job. Tyler Tarabaccia. Tyler also, second team All-League. Outstanding. Nathaniel Veet. Nathaniel came on as our sixth man for the championship games. He was outstanding in helping us also win our sectional. And last but not least, senior captain Andrew Morris. Andrew Morris was instrumental in every game we bowled. We couldn't have done half of what we did this season without him. I couldn't have done half of what I did many seasons ago without his brother. So I'm sad he doesn't have another brother or sister. Anybody out there have girls? We need them, so let's get them out here. Again, this is our team. They were amazing. Bowling is amazing, in case none of you know that. Thank you. I'd also like to bring up Phyllis Beck, our volunteer assistant. We've had many I'd like to thank you for doing it years ago. She volunteered this year to help us. We are probably, if not the only team that does not have an assistant coach, nor has had one in my 21 years. I think it's time. We have a lot of kids come out, and I need help. It's hard running back and forth 8 lanes every game. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And once again, let's give it up for the head coach, Judy Lucia.
That's it.
One more. Great, thank you very much.
And now for the exciting part of the evening, the business part of the meeting. So if students and parents want to leave, now's the time.
I guess I was supposed to read, was I supposed to read the whereas? We did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we did.
Just about everybody. Yeah.
We have some presentations.
Yes. Who's doing the first? Is Sean doing it? Yes.
Sean.
And it was good to see a good turnout.
It was.
Too bad we couldn't do this next week.
Without the masks, yeah. You can never get them all, but there've been times when you have less people than certificates, a lot less. Okay.
My pleasure to introduce Dr. Sean Strunsis, our District Supervisor of Guidance, to do our 2019, 2020, and 2020-21 HIB self-assessment. Yeah, you have to get up there. Yeah, all right.
Good evening, everyone. Oh. Okay. Perfect. I'm here this evening to share with you the results we received from the New Jersey Department of Education pertaining to our school and district scores from the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights HIB self-assessment from the 2019, 2020, and 2021 school years. First and foremost, the names of the individuals that you see in front of you or behind you, depending on where you may be sitting, that appear on the screen are very much at the forefront of our efforts to rid acts of HIB from our schools, and I would just like to recognize them, even though they're not here this morning, and thank them for their ongoing efforts. Those individuals from Pascack Valley, our anti-bullying specialist, Mrs. Christy Rossick, our anti-bullying special student wellness counselor, Ms. Jennifer Zimmerman, our student assistance counselor, Ms. Zimmerman. From Region 2, Mrs. DeBrine. From the Park Academy, Ms. Petrovici, and of course myself, the district anti-bullying coordinator. A little history. For the past 10 years, our district has conscientiously implemented the requirements found in the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. During this decade of implementation, our schools continue to make progress in addressing and improving harassment, intimidation, and bullying, including the school climate and culture, by creating and implementing programs for students and staff, and celebrating the Week of Respect, not only in the month of October, but ensuring that programs are running throughout the course of the school year. The data on this slide suggests the ongoing success and consistency of the implementation of the HIB laws here in our schools and our district. For historical perspective, I brought back to the last 7 years. If I added the first 3 years, we probably wouldn't be able to fit it all on the screen, let alone be able to read it. But I think 7 years of historical data, and most importantly, the presentation focusing on the last 2 years in the right columns, 2019, 2020, and 2021 school years. First and foremost, to give this some perspective, the maximum score that any public school in the state of New Jersey can receive on this is a 78. Okay? You can see the last 2 years where each one of our schools and district as a whole have scored. Again, with some further insight, there are 8 elements in the school self-assessment, in every school self-assessment. And each one of those elements, okay, there are indicators. There are a total of 26 indicators in which a school can score itself on a range of 0 to 3, with the maximum score obviously being a 78. Those elements pertain to HIB programs, training, staff instruction, how HIB is infused into the curriculum, personnel, investigating HIB incidents, and of course the reporting, for a total of 8 elements. And again, in each one of those elements, there are a total of 26 indicators for a maximum score of 78. The last 2 years, you can see how well our district has performed, our schools have performed, okay, and across the board consistently for the past 7 years. Okay. Perhaps even more important is not the score itself, okay, but equally the programs and activities which led our district to earning these scores by the Department of Education. And I would just like to highlight both student-centered activities and staff-centered activities that have led us to these scores. So again, behind you and in front of you, this is just a sampling of some of the activities and programs that are implemented over the past couple of years at Hills Valley and the Park Academy. Our focus is on the incoming freshman class. As we've noticed over the last several years, the HIB incidents, and there were few as Dr. Fishbein indicated earlier tonight, okay, focus primarily with our freshman classes. So we made it a focus, okay, to look at the freshman classes and ensure that programs and activities were geared at that student population. While not forgetting about the other grade levels, and I'll get to that in a moment, but a keynote interest on the freshmen. So, beginning of each year, freshman class meetings and orientation activities, including our SOS program, which is Signs of Suicide. We've introduced mindfulness in all of the freshman PE classes, and not only implemented the Week of Respect, but also expanded those activities and themes throughout the school year. Across the board, all 4 grades, okay, each grade participated or will soon participate in Bergen County's Alternative to Domestic Violence Workshop, which focuses on both healthy and harmful friendships and relationships. We've emphasized with our coaches, and you saw and met some of them tonight, okay, the great work that they're doing, but most importantly, co-curricular and extracurricular clubs and activities to emphasize inclusivity and acceptance of all students. And our student leaders and our coaches, club advisors, have really taken on this initiative and have done a phenomenal job accepting all students into their programs and activities. For our school counselors, student wellness counselors, and student family resource liaisons, conflict resolution sessions were mediated by our school social worker on an as-needed basis. And of course, multiple resources have been provided to parents, caregivers, families to support appropriate actions. In addition to student-centered activities, what have we done for our staff? Equally important. Each staff member is required, okay, to participate and complete the safe school trainings on harassment, intimidation, bullying, and bias. The wellness counselors were trained this year in the SOS curriculum, again, the signs of suicide curriculum, and bringing that, into the freshman health classes. We continue to use the anti-bullying software in the district known as Hipster, which allows us to monitor, track, and continuously keep up to date, okay, on what is occurring in our schools and across the district, identifying any themes and/or patterns. Okay? We're increasing staff awareness of at-risk students or marginalized students, encouraging them to make connections with students, getting them involved. Okay? We've made a concerted effort to connect the students in their interests and activities and provide opportunities and community-based supports outside of school to support their needs. We've included all staff in professional development activities pertaining to conflict resolution, spearheaded by the counseling department. And of course, we've studied and implemented win-win conflict resolution strategies. Last and equally important, we've studied and are implementing empathic listening strategies to diffuse student conflicts, including verbal de-escalation trainings. And these, again, are just some of the activities and programs that we've implemented not only this year, but in years past that have brought us to the scores that we've earned by the Department of Education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, I have a question if we could. You were
Sure.
For volunteer coaches, do they go through training like a regular coach or a regular teacher?
All employees, and that includes all staff associated, affiliated with the district, cafeteria workers, bus drivers.
Whether they're paid or volunteer?
All staff members.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay. All
Thank
set?
you.
Anybody else have
Yeah.
anything for Sean? Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Just close that here.
All right. Yeah, I think the next, you go ahead.
We have our last installment of the board goal on school finance, and Mr. Usami will talk about SOP.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through the entire SOP because it's well over 100 pages. The SOP, or is otherwise known as Standard Operating Procedures and Internal Control Document, that is board approved each year. You have that. It's also online on our district website as well. Just to give you an idea, give you an overview, the guide for the Standard Operating Procedures and Internal Controls is a document that outlines the business practices that are approved by the Pascack Valley Regional High School District Board of Education and administered by the business office. So it's intended to be used as a reference manual by administrators, secretaries, and any staff members that have budgetary or financial responsibilities. Its purpose is to provide an efficient control and accountability system that will help assure appropriate use of public funds. It must be understood that the principles of this manual are based on the generally accepted accounting principles, otherwise known as GAAP. You may have heard that quite often during the audit. And it relies on an assumption that individuals have a general understanding of the financial process of school system. For this program to operate at optimum efficiency, there must be a spirit of cooperation, teamwork, and communication between the school staff and the business office. So controls are in place to detect or prevent errors and fraud. An error is an unintentional mistake that has potential to affect the financial statements, and fraud is the intentional misuse or misappropriation of district assets. I'm happy to say that we don't have the latter. The three objectives of internal control are to ensure the effectiveness and efficiency of operations, reliability of financial reporting, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. The safeguarding of assets is a subset of all these objectives. Continuous monitoring and testing is needed to help to improve controls. So the components of internal controls, there are 5 components. Internal controls include the control environment, administration's risk assessment, administration's communication of the controls, control activities, and monitoring of the controls. So the control environment, it includes the organizational structure, the control framework, the district's policies and procedures, and internal and external influences. The tone set by the school district's board and administration determines the attitude toward the controls of the district. As far as organizational structure is concerned, it determines the administration's responsibilities and sets the relationship with the board, which sets the policies. Control framework, it's segregation of duties to help ensure the reliability of the organization's internal controls. One person should not have access to all stages of a process. Basic checks and balances. Integrity and competence of the personnel performing the duties are key to achieving the derived controls. Hiring people with knowledge and skills to perform their duties and provide ongoing training. Communication by the administration of the controls, and employees know how to communicate irregularities that may arise. Proper supervision of employees is needed to ensure proper execution of control activities. The district policies and procedures they set the overall direction of the district. Procedures for all areas of financial preparation, reporting, operations, transportation, maintenance, personnel, and payroll are needed. Now, administration's risk assessment. It includes new personnel or new duties for existing personnel, how a change in accounting information system impacts controls, and how effectively the training of personnel on new system was conducted. Changes in the regulations and laws that may affect the control environment. Record storage is appropriate and secure. District limits access to computers and data files. Segregation of duties. Transactions are recorded timely. Cash is deposited timely. Assets are physically safeguarded. Transactions are performed by only authorized personnel. Reconciliations are properly and promptly completed, and occurrences of management override. Now, for information and communication, the district's administration is responsible for communicating the controls of the district and the responsibilities of each employee in the control system. The administration is also charged with reviewing information that may indicate a flaw in the controls that would not allow control to detect an error in a timely fashion. Control activities. They can be achieved desired control, which would include segregation of duties. Transactions are recorded timely, cash is deposited timely, assets are physically safeguarded, transactions are performed by only authorized personnel, and reconciliations are properly and promptly completed. As far as control assertions, existence is whether the assets or liabilities of the district exist at any given point in time, otherwise cash, state aid receivable. Occurrence is whether the transaction took place. Goods were received before the purchase order was moved to accounts payable from encumbrances. Valuation is whether the asset or liability is included on the board secretary's report at the proper value, the amount of cash or state aid receivable. Allocation is whether the revenue and expenditures were recorded in the proper amounts. Transactions are recorded accurately and the classification of the transactions are proper. Completeness is whether all transactions are included, unrecorded purchase orders. Transactions are recorded at the proper time. Purchase orders written in the proper year. So monitoring, the administration is charged with reviewing internal controls on an ongoing basis. Monitoring can include responding to the recommendation of the auditor in changes in the controls, reviewing correspondence from outside sources, such as banks and vendors for unusual items, is part of monitoring. So after the controls are established, controls need to be evaluated at least annually and anytime circumstances dictate. Changes in personnel or regulations are examples of these. This may dictate changes to controls. Control deficiencies. A control deficiency exists when the design or operation of a control does not allow the administration to prevent or detect misstatements on a timely basis. A design deficiency exists when a necessary control is missing or is not designed to enable the control objective to be met. An operational deficiency exists when control is designed properly but does not operate as designed, or the person performing the control is not qualified to perform the control. Reasonable assurance and limitations on controls. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not absolute. The district should understand that potential fraud could exist and not be detected timely in the following circumstances: when the district has poorly designed or operated internal controls, or when there are too many overrides of controls, when there is collusion between employees or between an employee and a third party. So review of district processes, the 5 W's. Who performs each activity? Who receives the outcome of the activities? What activities are performed? What forms and reports are used? What computer system and files are used? When are activities performed? What is the sequence of activities? What is the timing of the activities? What is the frequency of the activities? Where are the activities performed? And why are activities performed? So the next page, I'm not going to go through all these. They're the areas of focus. So in the standard operating procedures, it lists all these things. There are things from internal controls to accounting, cash management, budget process, position control, purchasing, facilities, security, emergency preparedness, risk management, transportation, food service, technology systems, information management, financial and human resource management. So those are the subjects that are in the standard operating procedures, and it gives you all the information as far as what kind of controls are in place.
Great.
Any questions? Thanks, Gus.
You're welcome. Hope it wasn't too dry.
Not at all. Okay, so we are, I believe, at the first comments from the public. Again, citizens are invited to make comments regarding agenda items. They're limited to 5 minutes, according to our policy 0167. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, sign in, state their name, town of residence, and which agenda item they are focusing on. And you're correct, that's not in effect yet.
Right.
Yeah. So, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Seeing no hands, I'm going to close to the public. For policy, we have 4 consent agenda items.
5 with the agenda.
Oh, 5, okay. There are 5 agenda items. That's correct. So is there a motion?
Oh, just a quick clarification. The 5th agenda item was the,
Sidebar.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, sidebar.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So we have the opportunity for comment first, right?
We will. We shouldn't be talking yet anyway, so we need a motion.
Ms. Steffens' motion.
Okay, I missed that.
Oh,
Is there a second?
Awesome.
And now, I'm sorry, Mike. Yes, now, any discussion?
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to separate out number 3 from the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Do we need
We'll
a
still
roll call?
vote on it,
Yep.
it's just a matter of separating it
So
out.
roll call on separating item 3. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Luisi.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
And Mr. Blundo.
Yes. So now we do have a motion and a second on numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5. Is there any further discussion? So roll call on 1, 2, 4, and 5, please.
Mr. Luisi.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes. Okay, can I get a motion on number 3?
So moved.
Is there a second on number 3?
Second?
Discussion on number 3.
So I just want to reiterate a point that I made last meeting, and I appreciate the feedback from Dr. Fishbein in the Friday briefing. Our responsibility is policy, right? Understanding we are held accountable for mandates from the state, but we're now 2 years into COVID. And if data drives decision-making, I feel it's our responsibility as a Board of Education, one of 500, so we're like a drop of water in the pool, right? But, we have to be able to ask the question why when certain policies are being asked of us. I'd mentioned last meeting what the CDC director's position is now on vaccines and their ability to stop the spread. That was the original intent. That was the original understanding of this mandate. And now, what she's communicated publicly is that they don't prevent transmission. She goes on to say, if you're going home to somebody who has not been vaccinated, somebody who can't get vaccinated, I would suggest you wear a mask in a public indoor setting. So at the meeting where we're going to pass a policy to continue vaccine requirements, we're also announcing that we're going to roll back the mask mandates and make it optional on March 7th. Now, I'm all for optional, and I think that's a step in the right direction. But at the same time, this policy contradicts kind of what the CDC is saying. And at what point do we as a Board of Education ask the Department of Education, what's the point of this policy? And, it doesn't make sense to me. And as we move forward into the next phases of this, controlling this pandemic, and who knows what expectations are going to be asked of us in the future. We didn't have data before, and we were doing things that we thought were logical and made sense. Now that we have data, we should be doing things that are based on that data and are logical and make sense. And this policy no longer seems logical and doesn't seem to make sense. So for those reasons, I'm going to be voting no to the policy, understanding that we still as a district need to follow whatever the state mandate is.
Any other comments on 3?
Yeah, in the interest of making sense of this, look, the CDC has changed its position as the science has developed, but I feel that the vaccine requirements are necessary. It's not about, it's about the load on the hospitals and the region, and it's always been like that. It's always been about that. It's always been about keeping the rates down in the hospitals. And vaccines have been known to work to keep people out of the hospitals. And I don't know, from day one, it seemed like that was the idea. When we locked down, we did so because there was a peak in the hospitals and it became very dangerous, whether you had COVID or whether you broke your leg. And so the idea was we need to get that number down. And I've always seen it consistently that way. And if vaccines kept people out of those hospital beds, then we needed to do that. So I feel that the requirement is necessary. Again, the virus keeps mutating and different scenarios will come along. But one thing we also recognize is it may not be effective with transmission, but it is effective in keeping people from getting severely sick. And if another thing comes along, hopefully, fingers crossed, that latest vaccine will keep us from getting severely sick. So I'm going to vote yes.
Any other comments?
I have a comment, or a couple of comments. To Jim's point, obviously, as a nurse, I totally get the healthcare setting point. I agree with that completely. But I do also think that as a school, vaccinating teachers, it's not necessarily just about the transmission. It's also about keeping the teachers in the schools to be able to actually be healthy enough to teach, because we know when teachers are ill, it does have a significant impact on students and the attendance for teachers. So I think that's, Jim, your point is completely valid, but I think even more so as a school board, I think to protect our teachers is a really important point. The other thing is, I think with this policy, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but it says there can be unvaccinated people. They just have to undergo screening.
Yep.
So it
We still
isn't
do
that, well, I'm sorry?
We still do the screenings.
Right, so I think there is that part to it. It's not just saying, you know, you're going to be let go automatically. It's like, well, okay, if you're not vaccinated, then let's just make sure we test you to just, you know, account for that not vaccinated. So that's my point, and why I would vote yes for it.
Any other comments?
I think the Supreme Court got it right when they shot down the the mandates for companies over, I think it was 100 employees. I think there's a lot of reasons why people may not get vaccinated, and some are valid, some of them may be invalid, some of them may be ignorant, some of them may be logical. I just would hate to see someone not be able to efficiently work and do a great job at what they love to do because of a requirement like this.
Any other comments?
I do have a comment. I think that having the mask optional, and that kind of, you know, at Jenny's point with not having the protections and, you know, we're trying to protect the teachers and the students. And I think having this mask optional for people who are not comfortable and not getting the vaccine or being around someone who's unvaccinated or whatever, it's here, it's your safety. If you feel more comfortable wearing it, you know, no one's saying you cannot.
So I guess I can't be the only one not to comment. That wouldn't be right? So my yes vote is more along the lines of supporting the Department of Ed and their mandates. And I am concerned about not doing so and what the ramifications could be for the district, for the CUSAC, do I say that right? Funding requirements. I will say I literally 3 hours ago gave an interview to a student on a project saying that I don't believe in mandates anymore because of the data argument. I did, and I worked for one of the first companies that put in a mandate, and we let people go who didn't get vaccinated, which I was very unhappy to have to be a part of. But sometimes the state of New Jersey and its laws and its mandates are things that we have to follow, and for that reason, I'm going to vote yes. But I respect everybody's opinion here, and I appreciate the nature of which it was received from each of you. So thank you.
I actually have a follow-up question. Is this, are we vaccinated mean you have a booster or we're not there? Because
No,
that's...
just up to date means with a booster, fully vaccinated means with the 2 or 1 shot.
So in this policy, we're talking about fully vaccinated.
Yes.
So just the first and second dose, correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it left up to the discretion of the districts if they wanted to include the booster in their requirements?
The way the work, as far as the contact tracing, yes. That's the only area.
And we're not requiring that. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
And I have one more thing. Do we have to vote on this right now, or can we just move this down the road?
No, we're doing this, and we have this policy. There's a subtle change, and I forget what it was. So we actually have had this policy in place since September.
I want to make sure you're not saying, we're doing this, we have to do it. You're saying we were already doing it.
We're already doing it.
It's already there.
Could have came across
We've
like.
been,
Yeah.
we've been testing people weekly since October, and when we were in red, we did it twice a week.
Just to be clear, we do have a policy in place, and I appreciate that the point was made that it was put in place in September. A lot's changed since September. And so that's really the motivation for my comments. And more so, making sure that we're advocating for our teachers and our students by asking that question, why, to the Department of Education when we can, or when we should. With regard to CUSAC, I mean, I think we need to be careful not to scare the community and to think that, if we don't do something, it's of great penalty to the district. I mean, CUSAC looks at 5 different sections, policy happens to be one of them, and I don't want to assume, because I don't know how the grading works, but maybe you get dinged by losing a point or 2, and you're still going to pass CUSAC, and in the grand scheme of things, not having that policy is not going to be of great detriment to the district.
No, I was asked to ask our attorney what could happen, and those are the options that could happen.
So we might get dinged by losing a point, but it's not like we would not
They're going
pass.
to cut our funding or whatnot, yeah.
So, like you said, Joe, I respect everybody's opinion. I appreciate everybody who was able to give their feedback, and
Great.
away we go.
Just to clarify, this doesn't mean that if you are not vaccinated, you will, like, there are instances where people are terminated.
No.
If they're not. So,
It's probably a bad title.
yeah,
The vaccination was optional
right.
of all our employees, and we only have 26
Okay.
that get tested.
So if you as an employee choose that you do not want to be vaccinated, that is fine. That's allowed. You will not be terminated. You just have to
Be
do the
tested.
testing. Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Question, whose cost is that?
It's through federal money. It's not ours.
Okay.
In fact, the paperwork's done through the company we use, and that's,
Okay.
Is that covered by their insurance?
no, it's CARES money. It's not through the insurance.
Yeah,
It's federal money.
they have to go through insurance, so the company has to put in for insurance, they'll get rejected, and then they provide that through the CARES Act, and they're reimbursed. That's the way it was explained to me.
Any other last comments, questions? Okay, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Mr. Luisi?
No.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Given the Cali report, no.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
No.
Mr. Blendo?
Yes, so we're tied, right?
We're tied, so it does not
Doesn't
pass.
pass.
Well, we don't have a full board, and I'm, if it needs to be introduced again, it can be, but we can talk, see how that process is. Okay. All right, does not pass. Okay. For education, there was nothing else added, all right? I want to make sure. We have also 4, was anything else added on that?
No.
4 items. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
So I would like to make a motion to pull out number 1 and have it voted on separately.
Second.
Okay, roll call on pulling out number 1 from the consent agenda. Getting good at that.
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Okay, just a second.
All we're doing is
Okay, yes.
pulling it out for now. Yep.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Blendo?
Yes. So we now have a motion and a second for items 2 through 4. Is there any discussion remaining on items 2 through 4? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call on education items 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes. Okay, so we'll need a motion so that we can discuss or vote on item 1, overnight trips.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
So since I asked for it to be moved, I'll start. I have to be honest, given what's going on in the world today, I really don't know how I feel about this, one way or the other. I came here not knowing if I was going to vote yes or vote no on this because I really wanted to hear what everybody else's thoughts were on this topic.
So this one is simply moving the date out. It was for February, okay? And we're moving it to June, okay? I do have the two principals contacting the companies. We met this morning about this to see what our options are as far as, the war in Europe right now.
So I think the other thing that I was thinking about with this is after graduation, right?
Would be.
And now how many, I know we were allowing students who had previously graduated. I'm sure there are a good number of seniors on this trip. So we're going to be sponsoring a trip, and now how many of them are current students of Pascack Valley versus undergraduate or still current students of Pascack Valley? And like, are we in a place where there's more kids who aren't even currently in the district versus students who are? And then you talk about liabilities, and I know we keep talking about this trip, and first it's COVID, and now it's war.
Again, I was asked about that because of the kids who were coming back to go on the trip, and our attorney made it very clear that we are covered as far as liability is concerned. And the advisors have assured us that as far as student behavior, they're very confident that even the graduates will behave. And just with, any trip, if there is poor behavior, the parents will be required to come and retrieve their children.
Dan, I know what we might vote on tonight is simply moving the date. However, are there other trips to Europe coming up, and when's the first one coming up? Do we know?
I don't have that list in front of me, but I think it is in the April break.
Okay. And going back to our conversations, I chucked, nothing about this is funny, but we were focusing on this from a pandemic point of view, and now we're focusing on a war. Granted, the war's on the other side of the continent. However, it's a war in Europe. If it were to get to a point where the board wanted to not approve this or stop it, when would we have to or be able to do that?
Remember, it depends on the insurance the students took out. These programs are programs between individuals and the tour company, okay? The board gives permission for this to occur, but doesn't take on any financial burden. That said, there are people that I believe within a week of leaving can go and get 100% back. And then there are others, like further out, they get 75% back. And you see what I mean? Some people who have left have sort of sold their package to kids that are still here. So, that may impact those people as well.
Where is the trip in April scheduled to go out?
They're all in Europe, Italy,
Is that France, Dan?
France.
Something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
I don't have that in front of me.
Can you get that to us?
Yeah.
The dates and where? Other comments?
So sorry.
No, go ahead, Jim.
So if they're set to go, it's a week from now, and God forbid some horrible thing happens with the war where all of a sudden it has...
I'm sure the companies would not be running
Right,
the
so
trip.
I think, I hear your point, Mike. I think you're right. We really have to be careful with this, with what's going on. But I think, we reserve the right, I think, also to say, hey, look, this might have been okay before, but the climate has changed. And so, no, now it's not okay. So I think even if we say that it's okay at this point, I also think, I don't know, if parents would be, if their child could possibly be in danger, would be willing to let their children go. But at the same time, I think we as a board reserve the right to be able to say later, this is not happening.
I mean, I want the kids to go. Every part of me wants them to go. But I would say, can we find out if the group has vetted through, there's security companies out there that'll tell you, you're going to this region, it's extremely safe, somewhat safe.
Yep.
Not safe at all. I just would want the parents not to know maybe that service is there, that vetting service. You just don't want to put anybody in harm's way.
You could even go to the State Department has ratings. I was looking at it the other day, and
Yeah.
honestly, because of this, because somebody brought this to my attention, and couldn't really tell where they said on Italy. Maybe I just couldn't understand their language, not the Italian language, but the language they were using. But that's a good point, let them do that research. The other thing is, I want to make sure that we're clear on what we may do tonight, and I want to make sure that anybody's listening or is going to look at this later. We are not, I don't want to cancel a trip tonight, because it wouldn't be fair to the people who didn't know we were even going to discuss this, right? It goes back to many issues that we've had over the last couple of years. So to be crystal clear, we are taking no action tonight to cancel any trips. What I'm hearing, and you guys can correct me, is that there are members of the board that are concerned about the fact that there is a war in Eastern Europe, and we have trips going into Europe. And that the board may, depending on its feeling or any subsequent activity in Europe, may decide that we do not want to sponsor or approve a trip into that region. But we are not taking that action now. Okay, does anybody have any problem with what I said? I think we need to be crystal clear that we're not taking action, and that if we are going to take action, the people that have students going to this trip will have an opportunity to speak to us.
The only other thing I would want to be clear on is what the process is for saying that the board is no longer going to support a trip. So for example, there's a trip set to go out in April. I don't know what the date is, but is that a mechanism by which the superintendent makes that decision? Is that a mechanism by which the Board of Ed makes that decision? And we only meet twice a month, so depending on how timelines work, like who makes that decision and how does that work?
So with the meeting in March, before then, this Friday, I'll have the trips and dates and locations where they're going. With that amount of time, the board has made a decision to allow these trips to go, so then you need to reverse your agenda items. But we're not doing that right now.
We're not doing that now.
And let's say the board didn't do it. A week before, no board meetings were happening, I would make an administrative decision and take on that responsibility. All right?
So I just want to share really quickly that I just went on the U.S. Department of State website, and Greece and Italy are do not travel, but only due to COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's probably why I was confused. So the motion right now, if there's no more discussion on this issue, is to simply approve the dates to move from the February timeframe back to the June timeframe. And I believe there is a motion and a second on that. And just my 2 cents, I don't think that hurts us in any way. In fact, may even buy us more time.
Yeah.
So obviously, we can all vote as we wish, but that is the only question we're voting on right now. Any other?
I'll vote yes to that, but I am curious to know what the numerical breakdown is of kids who will have been graduates versus kids who will still be current students.
Dan will get that. He'll get that, and he'll get the dates and the countries that they are scheduled to go to. And I believe you thought we'd have that by the Friday fax? The Friday mail? Okay. Any other questions or comments? So, okay, voting just on this item, number 1, which is moving the dates back to a June 24th through July 3rd. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Blunt?
Yes. Okay, human resources. Looks like we have 9.
And one additional.
And 1 additional that came in, so there's 10 consent agenda items. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Blundo?
Yes. Finance, we had 16. Were there any additions there?
Yes.
How many were added?
1.
Okay, so now 17 consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Was that Deborah?
Yeah, sorry, second.
Okay, roll call, discussion, please. Hearing none, roll call?
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Blundo?
Yes. So for old business, we just have an update from the Facilities Committee. I'll lead, but Pat and Mike can update anything I've left out. Really, we got updates on the various projects, which are all updated in your Friday package every week. So there was really nothing discussed that wasn't in that package. Robert did let us know that he continues to have supply chain issues on some of the projects, which may push some things back into the summer. We don't have to worry about it from a budget point of view because that money will carry with it. Yes, was there anything, other than that as far as the supply chain that we have to be worried about?
No, it's really the supply chain. That's the big issue. I mean, we are getting in some cases, I think you saw that we're getting some bids that are much higher than we had anticipated. In most cases, we are going back out to bid again. But we may be in a situation where we don't have much of a choice except to accept them. But we're trying to get it down as low as possible, and we'll go from there. We'll make those decisions.
The other topic we talked about is, a couple of weeks ago, we received a report, a demographic report on the capacity at both Valley and Hills. And I think a lot of us were a little, I don't know what the right word is, but confused by that. Concerned, because the report came back that Hills was at or approaching capacity and Valley had room, and everything I've always understood was the reverse of that. So, Dr. Fishbein ran a report that proved that Hills actually has capacity, and you were going to run a report to see where Valley is. And can you describe a little bit about, because you did a good job at that when we talked about this once before.
I really just looked at the rooms and how often they're scheduled. And you could tell by the report there is capacity at Hills, and I've done it for Valley, and there's also capacity at Valley. We're fortunate that our teachers tend to have their room. It's their room for all 5 periods, or 6 periods, depending on if they have 6-period assignments for their whole day, and that's fortunate. But as capacity gets tight, then there's sharing of rooms. When you're not teaching, you're not staying there for your prep period, someone else is going into that room.
So
we're not at that stage.
It's like when you're the oldest child and your parents tell you we're going to have another baby. And they're going to be staying in your room with you. And you got to watch them.
Pat, Mike, anything I left out that you'd want to add?
Nothing.
Okay. So any new business? Okay, I believe our last item is, we have a second open to the public. Anybody from the public? And again, this time could be on any topic whatsoever. I am seeing no hands, so I'm going to close to the public. I'm going to entertain a motion in a moment to go into executive session. We will be getting an update on the superintendent search. There is a personnel matter and there's a possible HIB. We will not be taking action after executive session. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. I guess do we have to roll call? We'll roll call.
Mr. Luisi?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Blundo?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I think we can stay here